Hi, I'm Liz Billings-Fouhy. I'm the Supervisor of Early Childhood Special Education for Lexington Public Schools, and I'm the Director of Lexington Children's Place. I have been the director for about 15 years. Prior to that, I was the first teacher in this program. It was 25 years ago that we started this one classroom at Lexington High School for 7 children with special needs and 8 children who had no special needs, and they were all turning 3. And we've grown and grown and grown since that time. The program is not just another preschool in Lexington. It is a mandated, state-driven program. The law says that children that are 3 years old up to 22 years old need to be educated in the least restrictive environment with their peers. And so an integrated preschool became a must back in 1991 when we started this program. And if we don't have this program, then all the children, both in the integrated classes and in our sub-separate class, would need to go out to out-of-district programs, which would cost a lot of money. Our more needy children would be in autism-based classrooms that would cost at least $100,000 a year a child, plus transportation. So we have 6 children in that classroom right now, $600,000 plus probably another 100 more in transportation. So it's a very cost-efficient program. In addition to being the program for children that have special needs, we are the evaluation team that helps determine children to have special needs. And we work out of this building and our other building to that end. We also provide just services to children. Sometimes when children are evaluated, they don't need a preschool program or a specialized preschool program. They just need some speech or some OT. We provide those services at both of our sites. And we provide consultation to their nursery school by special educators to make sure that the nursery school is accommodating their needs. We have, as I mentioned, moved multiple times. We started out at Lexington High School, which was then the G House, I believe. We were there for a couple of years. Then we moved to Hastings before Hastings reopened. And then they needed Hastings, so we moved out of Hastings. And we've moved back to the electrical shop at the high school. And we were there for a few years, and then they needed that back, so we moved to, actually we moved to modulars on the Harrington parking lot, which are no longer there. We were there, and then we had to expand back to Hastings for a year, but they needed that room back, so then we had to move to Fisk modulars on the old Fisk lawn, and then we all moved into this site, and we thought, that was about 12 years ago, and we thought we had gone to heaven, and everybody was excited, and then we grew and grew and grew, and we had to expand over time. We had offices over there, we had services across the parking lot, and now we have 2 classrooms, which we'll see later, and therapies and evaluations that happened across the parking lot too. And that poses a bunch of challenges, having 2 programs, and that's one of the reasons we're looking for one building. So then we can walk around?
Sure, great, yeah.
This is what we lived in for 12 years without needing more. We have 2 speech and language rooms where kids can get pull-out services for speech and language. And many of our children require that service, and we often start with them out in a quieter setting and then try to generalize those skills back to the classroom. And then these are the integrated classrooms down here. And there are 3 of those here. So there's 1, 2, 3 integrated classes. These children are multi-age classrooms. They have children that are 3, 4, and 5. 7 children have special needs, 8 do not in every classroom. We start out the school year with spaces in our special needs slots because children start coming all year long. We evaluate them and then they come to school. So this is another integrated classroom. All these classrooms have bathrooms in the classrooms or directly accessible from the classroom. This is a bathroom in here, I'm not sure. A lot of our children are not yet toilet trained, and we work on that with them, but we need bathrooms close at hand all the time. And then this is our motor room. And our motor room is for children OT and PT services. We have 2 of these. We have one here and we have one across the way. This is a relatively small one. You can't quite do all the same things here that we can do across the street, but we make this work. So our OTs and our PT work out of here. And then this classroom is our sub-separate autism room. And the children in this classroom have very significant needs and need to work pretty much one-to-one with adults. So in this room at any given time, there are a lot of cubbies around the edges you can see where children work one-on-one with an adult. They could be 6 children, 7 adults, an OT, a PT, a speech and language person coming, going. There can be up to 14 people in this room at the same time, and it's not a big room. It's not a full-size classroom. So that proves challenging. Many of these children, as they progress, start being included in the other classrooms, and then they're out for a little bit of time, but not usually too long. So this space and the 3 classrooms that we saw are the space that Harrington would like to have for classroom space. And so they would like us to leave so that they can have their space, which has been the case for many places that we've been. We are in 2 sites. We have 2 classrooms across the way, speech, OT, PT, and testing happen across the way, as well as some storage space. So we're going to walk over and see that. This little walk is lovely on a 70-degree day. It is not so lovely in the pouring rain or in the freezing cold. We have worked very hard to make sure that small children are not walking back and forth. Sometimes it's inevitable if a child's being evaluated and the parent brings them sometimes to the wrong site. So we work very hard to make sure that doesn't happen, but occasionally it does. So that's our program's playground. It's very close to this program. It's not close to that program. It is designed to be wheelchair accessible. Children can get right up on the structure in a wheelchair or with a walker. It has a lot of modifications for children with visual impairments, hearing impairments, physical disabilities. There's a large sandbox. There's steps and stairs at all different heights. And the kids love playing. It's gated. And we love sharing it with the neighborhood as well as using it every day for our students. And we're also hoping to take it with us. So usually when we walk over, we try to use the crosswalks, especially if anybody's walking with a child. We try to minimize that, but it does happen that sometimes we have to do that. I'm not quite sure how far the distance is. I keep starting to measure my steps and then I forget. But I think it's about a sixth of a football field is what I was told. So a little more than half a football field. The students, so the other piece that happens over here is we're seeing this program on a Thursday afternoon at 4 o'clock. During the morning, this parking lot is so full of cars, and there are so many employees in this building, in the upper wings of this building, that I think someone said that there were 116 spaces and 109 employees. That's just employees. Parents that bring their children to this program have to do what we call curbside pickup. They drive along, get in a line, and we take the children out, walk the children in. At the end of the day, we come out, bring the children out, and they move along. So there are 3 parking spaces over there if parents have to park, and some handicap spaces here. But and then this is also a training site for the middle and upper middle and elementary schools for professional learning department. And so there's often workshops where 20 extra people are here and there's no parking. 4 staff even, so it can be very challenging. And then this is our door, which is not usually propped open. And we moved into this space. They adapted this space for us 2 years ago. And we'll start with the classrooms. Hi. This was the elementary school lower level first grades prior to being opened for, being closed for the central offices. And the classrooms are at the end here. I think people wouldn't leave the lights on. And so these are the 2 integrated classrooms. And these are the bathrooms they designed for us. But they require a teacher to come out of the classroom. So in our other classrooms, we have bathrooms in the room, and the teacher needs to monitor it, but she doesn't need to leave the room. In this case, a teacher in one of these integrated classrooms, the child comes out, the teacher comes out too. So then it diminishes how many people we have helping children in the classroom, which is our working model. So this is one of our integrated classes. And there's one of our integrated teachers. There's Kara doing her work. So this is a pretty typical classroom setup, getting ready for school in the morning, rug area, cozy corner, table work, dramatic play center. They're doing a bakery over there. And children have cubbies in the classrooms. And then when we go out and walk to the playground, we have when we walk out, I'll show you a crusher run path that takes us around the side. It's a little bit longer, and it's not great in the rain or in the snow, but it keeps us out of the parking lot, and we all walk on a rope so that nobody gets lost. And then this is our other integrated classroom. And children, this is a good representation of our curriculum. Our curriculum is called Tools of the Mind. We've been doing it for 8 years. It is a research-based curriculum program that working on literacy, math, all kinds of preschool activities, as well as inhibitory control, working memory, and cognitive flexibility, which are essential skills for self-regulation. So our activities our calendar is a linear calendar. We give a message of the day every day. We draw a picture about what we're going to do. We use the sound map to help us sound out the sounds. Children have visual schedules to help them remember what's happening next, need to be reminded of those things. We share the news every day. Children turn and talk to each other. There's a very big balance between small group, 2 children talking to each other, and large group teacher talking to the group. We minimize the teacher talk. We maximize the child-to-child talk. It's very important to work on. We have also many, many English language learners in our program. So this is our first year of having some English language learner support, and we're very excited about that. But our classroom can be made up of children from all over the world with all kinds of languages and cultures, which is great. The sort of the central part of Tools of the Mind is play planning. And these are play plans in a developmental sequence, so people can see sort of what children are doing. They would pick an area to play in, and they would draw themselves in a prop. And then as they get more mature, the pictures get more complicated. They start doing word-to-line match. They start doing initial sounds. And it's just fascinating to watch a small child start with a scribble and end up with a very descriptive picture and initial sounds, and then they head off to kindergarten. And then these are math activities. Sand and water is very important play in preschool, sensory activities. It's a play-based curriculum, but it's got a lot of academic pieces woven into it. And play is how small children learn best. Every child comes in and answers a mystery question with their name. Tuesday was, are you wearing pumpkins? We've had parent conferences the last couple of days. And then this is where children come for speech therapy. In here, we're still working on the heating system here. One of the drawbacks is this room has an air conditioner and the heating vents. When those are running, it's hard to hear children. It's hard to do speech therapy when you can't hear the children and they can't hear you. There are vents in the upper corners that let us have heat travel between the two. It also has sound travel between the two, so it's not a confidential space, and it sometimes is distracting for a child who's getting speech therapy in here and someone else who's being tested in there. This is our conference room space over here, so we can have meetings, but again, we can't have meetings there if people are having services here. We've learned that doesn't work. And then there's this room, which is where we do our testing and psychologist works out of, and actually anybody can use it to do testing. It's just a separate, in the other building, my office is what gets used for everything, so I have to vacate my office so that people can use my office for testing if all the other testing spaces are gone, which sometimes happens. And then across the way is the OT room. And this is a bigger room than the other. This is a full-size classroom. Again, the structure is used for suspended equipment for sensory integration therapy for kids with OT. We have a ball bath. This is great fun. There's no room for this. Kids love this, get a lot of sensory feedback from using the ball bath. But there isn't room for one of these in our other sites program. In our new design site, there's rooms. The rooms are big enough to have ball baths in both OT rooms. We will need 2 OT rooms. And then this room right now is used as parent waiting area, storage, and some extra desk space for our itinerant teachers. So this is where parents wait when the children are getting either evaluated or services. That's our storage. Preschool has lots and lots and lots of materials. Each one of those bins represents a part of a unit that we do in terms of play units. So there's bets and vets and doctors and medicine and different kinds of restaurant play, and they're all labeled in bins, but that takes up a large amount of space. And in our other site, many of them are in the classroom. Those bins are in the classroom. This is a space that, I don't know where the light is. Yeah. Our ELL provider works off this desk, and our itinerant teachers who consult to the nursery schools work off of that desk. This is a desk that they're storing for us because we don't have a space for it. And this is also where staff has lunch. It is not a private space for conversations with parents. There is an opening because of the heating system. So if these itinerant teachers or the ELL teacher needs to call someone, they need to go to a different room that has a more private telephone. We can't have parents sitting over there listening to conversations that are happening over here. So it's great for workspace, but it's not great for phone contact with other families. In our other site, our conference room is used as a staff lunch, IEP meetings, overflow desk space, pretty much everything. It's a very, very busy place. This is a area spotty for Wi-Fi in this building, and part of the problem is they can't go into the ceiling to thread it. So computer usage over here has to be plugged in and is not as portable as it is elsewhere in the district in this particular wing. They're working on that, but it's one of the realities. The other reality is there's no nurse in this building. So we use the nurse over across the way and take children over if we needed it. In a real emergency, she would come running over here. But that is certainly not optimal in terms of, we try to put our children with the most intensive allergies or medical needs in that building so that they have better access to the nurse. This building doesn't have sprinklers in it. It's an older building. We have been asked over the years, and we've investigated, why don't we just expand into the rest of this building and move the offices somewhere else? That was costed out a few years ago and is highly, highly, highly expensive because the school was decommissioned as a school, And if we go more than, I think it's 7,500 square feet of programming, we trigger the whole building having to be put back on the top level of code that's current code, which would be astronomically expensive, much more than the program we're talking about building at Pelham. So moving into this part of the building is not a solution. We did investigate that. Behind the dumpsters.
And what is that?
That takes us from over there. The kids can walk on that path and not be in the parking lot. So, and we have a gate on either side of the parking lot. And you can see a lot of families use the playground, or get on either side of the playground. Parents use the playground after hours, which we very much encourage. So the proposed site that we may move to pending the debt exclusion would be at the Pelham Armenian Sisters School. That school was originally cited as a place to renovate, and then we determined that it would be cost effective to tear it down and build another one, and ultimately over time that would pan out to be less expensive because of electricity and energy costs over time. We couldn't retrograde the other program as efficiently as we can build a new program. The new program provides us all the space we need for some substantial growth in the next years, as well as it's been designed to have a 4-classroom addition on one end that isn't there yet, but is going to be all prepped and ready should it be needed, and we won't build on it or interfere with it, so that we could build there if we needed to expand even more. The site is optimal. It is right next to the community center, and we could do some sharing of programming with the community center. We've already started talking about that. And it's also accessible on the bus lines that come up Merritt Road and Mass Ave. So families that don't have cars or have babysitters that don't have cars could get there by public transportation. There is plenty of parking, wheelchair access, all kinds of components that make it a very, very, very appropriate space for all of our children. Our children are the littlest children. This is the beginning of their career in this district. They are starting out as 3-year-olds coming into our district, and it's really important that their families feel cherished and that their children are well taken care of. And these are our most vulnerable students, and we really, really, really need to provide what they need now so they don't need as much later on.